we shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
My information paper, Geoengineering What We Know, has 80 points on 3 pages that debunkers have been unable to refute for 10 years. Since 2006, the snow on Mount Shasta has 5 times more aluminum, 61,000 micrograms per liter, than the soil underneath it. The snow water is unsafe to drink on Mount Shasta. Now, the aluminum content of rain should be 0, with a pH of 5.5. When jets are not spraying, maybe so. When the jets are spraying, we get up to 13,100 micrograms per liter and pH up to 100 times normal. Now, terrestrial and aquatic insects are down to about 10 to 20% normal levels. Bird populations, according to National Audubon Society, are collapsed and starving. I personally sampled 350 trout in 2013 and hundreds of other trout through other seasons. None of these fish had anything in their stomachs. No aquatic insects, no small fish, and in previous droughts, this is the 1980s and 1990s, this never happened. Geoengineering is now a factor in insect collapse. We are quite aware of the effects of aluminum, barium, and strontium nanoparticles on humans. We have never seen ultraviolet B burnout of treetops or bark burn on the south tree bark before. We've never seen such massive tree die-offs before. We've never found aluminum inside the plant's circulatory system before. And the nanoparticle at 1 billionth of a meter is small enough to do that.
It's not their agenda that matters, it's ours. They want to paralyze us and distract us and keep us from the truth so that we don't manifest our own intentions in this world. And if we don't know what is going on and we don't have the whole truth, we can't manifest the right intentions in this world. And I believe that a lot of this technology that is being used against us can also be used to liberate us once we realize it's there. And there's a lot of denying that some of this technology exists.
And look at this, out of NASA, what they can do with aerosols in the atmosphere. And it goes on to discuss this a little bit. It just touches on that. And then MIT, there's a paper out of MIT talking about an aspect of the experiment that needs to be considered is the method of sulfur dispersal. And basically trying to say that they'll add a nozzle to the plane running from a separate tank, and this would allow them to basically spray what they need to do. This is not a theory. Here is the actual patent for exactly what we're talking about. A method is provided for mitigating global warming. Such method, fine particles can be ejected and dispersed into the atmosphere. There it is. There's the patent. It exists.
It supersedes all other issues. And although we have countless forms of contamination, absolutely countless forms, to our bodies, to the environment, nothing compares with climate engineering. Let's look statistically at what geoengineer David Keith stated on the record at an international geoengineering conference, which I confronted him. This is on film and on the record, but his stated annual goal was to dump 20 million tons of aluminum nanoparticulates into the atmosphere annually. That number might not mean much to a lot of people, but if you break it down, it starts to be pretty scary. That's about 1,000 tankers, military aircraft tankers a day, 24/7, 365 days a year, dumping about 60 to 70 tons apiece. Aluminum nanoparticulates, why do they use such small particles? Because it has a greater volumetric forcing, which means the smaller the particle, the greater the surface area for a given mass of material. So there's more light reflecting surface, and that's what they're after. They don't care how toxic it is, but the smaller the particle is, the more harmful it is to the human body. Nanoparticulates are unimaginably small. You can fit 30 to 50,000 across a human hair, depending on the width of that hair. So these particles are infiltrating the entire web of life, contaminating virtually everything, And you have also carry what's called synergistic toxicity. So these metals are all toxic by themselves. The metals we know are in these programs: aluminum, barium, strontium, lead, copper. You start to mix these metals together, and they're exponentially worse.
Geoengineering programs are designed to change the temperature of our planet, and they're designed to manipulate our weather. And we did a very effective, approach in Why in the World Are They Spraying? However, because they're not included in climate models that source CO2 for the changes that we're seeing, it makes climate models flawed at best, fraudulent by those who are in the wear. But because these programs have been ongoing, they're designed again to change our temperature and to manipulate our weather. It's impossible to determine whether the planet's warming or cooling. And I like to compare geoengineering to a heater. So let's say if you're in your home and you turn the heater on up to 95, 100 degrees, would it be safe to make the assumption and say, oh my God, it's getting hot outside? It could be getting hot outside, could be getting cold outside. You don't know until you turn the heater off or stop geoengineering and you allow the home or the region that you're in to calibrate back to what the normal temperature would be.
And wondering if you were supportive of geoengineers' proposals of spraying 10 to 20 million tons of aluminum into the atmosphere.
I should really get a briefing paper on it before you get an opinion.
Oh, not a problem. Are you aware of the issue?
Not completely.
At all? Because, okay. Do you have a letter from constituents and people have concerns?
Yeah,
making a documentary about the
I don't know, you guys have credentials to be here?
Yes, we do. We pass through security as well.
Endowed by our Creator.
I think so.
Please don't
What's that?
Please don't touch my property.
You're lying.
No, lie. What did we lie? What did we lie about, sir?
No, we're not.
What are we lying about? Lying about what?
That was a little unusual, huh?
One of the things that is affected by climate change is agriculture. But some of what we are seeing is man-made, but man-made in a different way than you may guess. Weather modification programs, experimental ones done by private companies, done by the United States government, done by states across the United States, are underway. There's more than 50 of them in operation across the United States. All of these impact agriculture because they change the microclimates needed for agriculture to survive. None of these programs that I know of today, and this is all public record, are available at any time with oversight, agricultural oversight or public oversight. And there are programs around the world, international corporations are modifying our weather all the time. And they're modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. So that what happens is that we are putting chemicals, ground-based chemicals that are shot into the air, or chemicals coming from airplanes that change and modify our weather. Artificially putting chemicals like sulfur or particulates into the atmosphere. If you take and you put up into our skies chemicals to reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the earth, you are going to begin to reduce crop production. Without the process of photosynthesis, whereby plants from direct sunlight gain the energy to grow, to produce crops, we are going to find ourselves, if we mitigate in that direction, impacting the crop production not only here in the United States, but worldwide. That trail can expand to 4,000 kilometers and last for 20 hours. How do you like your skies, natural or man-made? And right now, we are making man-made clouds.
Black chemtrails. Have you seen these yet? They're a little weird. They're perfectly straight. They're literally like a black chemtrail. And then another plane will come along and spray exactly where that black chemtrail points. It literally follows it all the way. And if you have not seen these black chemtrails yet, I'm sure you will, Google it. Check it out. I mean, it's like, what the fuck are these things? I mean, seriously. They're fucking weird. Literally, these planes follow it like a trail. It's bizarre. What follows through and covers the black line ends up becoming a chemtrail.
This window camera captures a dangerously close pass by a rogue aircraft releasing persistent chemical trails that appear to be released out of direct proximity to the engine exhaust. This risky stunt maneuver would be a violation of FAA rules for traffic separation. Then another 4-engine rogue aircraft passes very close below the camera again, releasing black carbonaceous plumes very close to the jet engine exhaust. And then next we see 2 more rogue aircraft passing each other much too closely at nearly the same altitude as they release carbonaceous aerosol plumes. We see these and numerous other sightings that establish climate modification programs have been secretly deployed for years, but that the results have never been reported by IPCC investigators involved in publishing the science for climate change.
But why don't people see? How come people are still unaware of this?
I think people are afraid. And if new people go in to look up this information, the first information that they're going to find is all conspiracy theories, and they basically try to debunk or diffuse you from looking further into this. They feed your fear by, oh, it's just water vapor and it's just natural, and they have a natural a programmed response that everybody actually tells me personally, well, it's just water vapor, Rachel, I looked it up and it's a conspiracy and you don't need to worry. And I'm like, well, if you go look at NASA's site, you can find more information, or go to a CERN site, or you know, the information is out there, and like you said, the declassified military documents. And people, I think it's just fear that keeps people from looking. I think they're afraid, and there's a term they use, cognitive dissonance, and you don't want to, it's so scary, you don't want to believe it, so you shut down because that doesn't fit into your comfort zone. And I think that is what needs to stop. People, this is a scary thing, and people should be scared. We're being poisoned. But if we ignore it, it's not going away. And we can't just sit there and pretend that this isn't happening and just be happy with their textbook, oh, well, this is what it is, and not ever ask another question and just be happy with that answer, because that answer doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't even agree with the science. It doesn't, I can watch an airplane fly across the sky and turn its spray on and off. Well, an airplane cannot turn their engine on and off without losing altitude. That's not even possible. So if you're telling me this is a normal contrail, how did he turn his engine on and off without losing altitude? It's not possible. These are obviously spraying something into the atmosphere that they have the power to turn on and off from their cockpit, or I've read that it's been remotely powered also, where the spray is dispersed. So.
I joined the military, I thought the most honorable thing a person can do is to stand up for what they believe in. I believed in this country, and I still do, especially with all you fine people here today and currently serving in the military overseas. I came across the issue of geoengineering. There's substantial evidence that these programs are going on currently, not only from the testimonies you're hearing today, but from doctors, scientists, and activists around the world. This is a global issue. A quote from the U.S. Air Force document reads, "In 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies." Ironically, there are also doctors like David Keith, Alan Roebuck, and Ken Caldera, all trying to convince the American people that these climate engineering programs are a good thing to help fight global warming. They deny these programs exist. I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I had my own local rainwater tested. When I got my test results back, it shocked me. I'd found heavy metals, specifically barium, strontium, and aluminum, known metals in aerosol disbursement patents. I met with people with the same metals showing up in their blood tests. Mainstream media blames these global warming anomalies only on CO2, without any mention from the catastrophic climate engineering programs that are currently connected to completely disrupting weather patterns. This is not a time for discussion, but a time for action. We need help from our enlisted military personnel as well as any officers involved with these programs. We cannot rely on our elected officials, and if you think I'm being unreasonable, consider the following. Does the government represent the people? With over 40 years of data they compiled, they discovered that, and I quote, the preference of the average American appear to only have a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. So if you thought the government doesn't have your best interests in mind, you're right. So I have a big problem with this illegitimate government and its federal bureaucracies. I sacrificed 4 years of my life defending the people of my country just to come home and find there are greater threats here domestically. Our questions aren't being addressed and time is running out. So in closing, I just ask the military brothers and sisters to stand with us, the side of humanity, and to test this corrupt regime and to put a stop to these crimes against our planet and humanity. Come from the shadows and know that you are not alone. We can provide the cover necessary and the support for exposing this. Thank you, and have a great day home.